Chapter 23. Blame it on the cloud. Look at the picture. Oh boy. Mrs. Jules went from desk to desk as she handed back the arithmetic tests. "I'm very disappointed in you, Joy," she said. "You need to learn your 60s and 70s. Joy had gotten an F. That awful letter was written in red ink and there was a circle around it. "But it wasn't my fault, Mrs. Jules," Joy complained. "It's the cloud of doom. It made me change my answers." Said Mrs. Jules as she took another look at Joy's test. She made two little strokes with her red pen, changing the F to a B. Joy smiled. The door swung open and Beebe walked in more than 15 minutes late. "Beebe, you need to put your name on the blackboard under discipline," Mrs. Jules told her. "Don't blame me," said Beebe. "I left my house on time. The cloud of doom slowed me down." "Oh, okay then," said Mrs. Jules. Leslie screamed. Mrs. Jules turned. "Paul pulled my pigtail," she accused. "Both of them at the same time." "Paul, what do you have to say for yourself?" demanded Mrs. Jules. Paul shrugged. "Cloud of doom?" he tried. Leslie turned around and shook her fist at Paul. "I'll doom you, you ugly bug sniffer." "Leslie, that's no way to talk," said Mrs. Jules. "It wasn't me, Mrs. Jules. Oh, it wasn't me, Mrs. Jules," said Leslie sweetly. "The cloud of doom made me say it." "Well, apologize to Paul for calling him ugly." "But I didn't call him ugly," said Leslie. "He sniffs ugly bugs." Jenny and DJ laughed. Mrs. Jules glared at them. "Cloud of doom," they said at the same time. Mrs. Jules continued to hand back the tests. "You can do better, Terence," she said when she came to him. Terence crumpled his test into a ball and brought it to the front of the room, where he dropped it in the trash. He stood there a moment, staring at the trash basket. "Terence, return to your seat," ordered Mrs. Jules. He stayed where he was. "Terence, do you have a problem?" asked Mrs. Jules. "No," said Terence. "No problem." He kicked the basket. It sailed end over end across the classroom, spilling trash along the way. Mac raised both arms like a football referee. "3 points," he declared. "Terence!" exclaimed Mrs. Jules. "Sorry, the cloud of doom made me do it," said Terence. "Mac," said Mrs. Jules, "you know better." "Cloud of—" "Enough!" shouted Mrs. Jules. "I get it. It's hard with that cloud hanging over us all the time, but you can't blame it for everything that goes wrong. You have to take responsibility, and that means working extra hard so things don't go wrong. So I'm doubling all your homework." "That's not fair," complained Benjamin. Mrs. Jules told Benjamin to write his name on the blackboard under the word discipline. "The ultimate test will start tomorrow," Mrs. Jules declared. "It will take 3 days to complete, and you'd better be prepared, cloud or no cloud." There were lots of groans. Mrs. Jules returned to Joy's desk. She crossed out the B and this time gave her an F minus. "Terence, there's a broom in the back closet. I want you to pick up the trash basket and sweep the floor. Mac will help you. Everyone else, get in line behind Benjamin and write your names on the blackboard under discipline." There were more groans and moans, and everyone rose from their seats. "Except you, Todd," ordered Mrs. Jules. "You're the only one who's been good." And isn't Todd usually the one that has to write his name? Todd sat back down. He scratched his head. "You used to be a nice teacher," said Rondi as she made her way to the blackboard. "Why are you so mean?" asked Allison. Mrs. Jules shrugged and said, "Cloud of doom?" Above them, the cloud continued to churn as it turned itself inside out again. No one hardly noticed it anymore, but it continued to grow larger and more powerful every day. Lightning flashed inside the cloud, where no one could see it. Thunder boomed where no one could hear it. What happened in the cloud stayed in the cloud. For now. What's this cloud going to bring?